This week we are making Pokemon cookies with custom sprinkles inside of each one of them. Gotta eat them all! My name is Lori and you're watching The Icing Artist. Sugar cookies are actually super simple. So I have white sugar, butter or vegan butter, 1 egg. I'm gonna use clear vanilla extract instead of regular vanilla extract so it keeps the dough a little bit more clear, salt, baking powder, and of course flour. I'm just gonna combine my sugar, butter, and my clear vanilla into one bowl and then whip those up with my hand mixer. You guys can do this on a stand mixer as well, but so it looks very visual for you guys, I thought I would do with my hand mixer. And I'm just going to whip this until it is light and fluffy and it's almost becoming more of like a white color. Once that's done, I'm going to add in my 1 egg and mix that until you just can't see the egg anymore. You do not want to over whip this. Set that aside, and then in a separate bowl, I'm going to combine my flour, salt, and baking powder and just whisk that together until combined. And then add that into my wet ingredients in like 3 additions. If you guys have not subscribed to this channel, man, hit that subscribe button down below and don't forget to ring that notification bell. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps. Once that is done, I'm going to pop my dough into the fridge, not into the hour. I'm gonna pop my dough into the fridge for about an hour to chill. Now that it is chill, it is time to roll out these cookies. I like to chill my dough so that way when I cut them out, they hold their shape better, so I definitely recommend it. I am dusting my surface with some flour so that it doesn't stick to my surface or my rolling pin. I don't know about you guys, but every single time I'm rolling out sugar cookie dough, I don't flour enough on the top because I'm so worried about them drying out. It ends up sticking to my rolling pin and like peeling off of the dough. So just use a bit of flour. Now for these cookies, I did not have any cutters, so I just printed out some templates and cut those out of paper, and I'm gonna cut my sugar cookies out that way. It does take a little bit more time, but if you don't have cookie cutters, it is a great way to make your own. Now with these cookies, I'm going to be extremely careful when cutting them out and trying to cut the exact same shape each time because we are going to be making piñata cookies, which is basically, you know what a piñata is. You hit it and all of a sudden a bunch of candy comes out. Well, these cookies, when you bite them, a whole bunch of sprinkles is gonna come out. And to do that, we need to cut out 3 of each shape so that way they can stack up on top of each other. And if one of them is misshapen, you're really gonna see that. Now, in order to make piñata cookies, you're supposed to cut out the center of one of the 3 cookies. I somehow completely forgot to do this. So while they were still a little bit warm, I tried to cut out the center. It worked shockingly well. But if you guys can remember, write a sticky note or something for yourself, cut out the center, because this was terrifying. Even though it's not ideal, it kind of works. So for those of you guys who are super forgetful like me, this is the way to save your butts. And then using a black edible marker, I'm going to draw those onto the cookies because I suck at freehanding. If you guys have been watching this channel, you know I suck at freehanding. This is not a secret. This helps me stay within the lines. Okay, so last time I made a comment about using an edible marker and not a Sharpie. I got a comment saying Sharpies apparently are non-toxic, so you can eat them. I didn't know I was making such a big deal of it. Don't be using Sharpies on your cookies. That is not edible, non-toxic, or not. Nobody wants a Sharpie cookie. Starting with Bulbasaur, which I think is my favorite one, and I always thought it looked like an onion turtle. I made a greeny blue royal icing and then just outlined the outside of his eyes and the outside of the cookie. And then just flooded that all the way in. You're just piping a lot more icing and just trying to flood the entire surface. But don't worry if it's not perfect because you can use a toothpick and just kind of drag it around. This gets out all of those piping lines, so it makes it really nice and smooth, and you can fix any mistakes that you made. Then I just gave it a really good little shake or tap or whatever is gonna work to help get the icing perfectly smooth. I filled in the outside of its eyes with some white royal icing. Same thing, I'm just gonna use that toothpick to really perfect everything. I piped the rest of the eyes using my red royal icing and then just kind of joined those 2 together. Now Bulbasaur has these like spots on their forehead. I don't know if it's supposed to be like Pokemon freckles or aging spots, but with that I just did a darker shade of that bluey green. Once I pipe them on, they look more like circles, but again, if you just like drag the ends of it, you can make more of like a square shape with it by just using your toothpick. Once I was done with all of those, I just let it dry for about a half an hour, and now that it's crusted on top, we can pipe some of those details. Now, again, I hate freehanding things, but instead of drawing on top of this, I thought I would just freehand his mouth. But if you guys are scared, believe me, we share this fear. You guys can draw on the top of the royal icing with an edible marker instead. You just want to really make sure it dried 100%. Like leave it overnight before you go drawing on your cookie. But the Freehanding worked pretty good. I'm actually pretty impressed with how that turned out. Go me. Now that it's done, I'm just gonna set it aside for now and move on to Pikachu. With this one, I just outlined his eyes, ears, and cheeks using that yellow roll icing, and then outlined the rest of the cookie and then just flooded that all in the center. Usually with cookies, I'm just outlining the outside and flooding the entire thing. These ones, because you're outlining so many of the details, I noticed it was actually easier if my roll icing was a bit thinner, so I had more of that open time before it started to cross. I gave him these rosy red cheeks and then just try to stretch that red line right up until that yellow line. And for his ears, I just outlined them and then filled it in and used my toothpick again to make that sharp point. Eyes on this one were the easiest of anything. I just piped a big blob onto the center of his eye and that worked perfect. Just like Bulbasaur, I let that dry for about a half an hour, and now I can go on top of that royal icing and add my black mouth, his little nose, and then those white dots for his eyes. I've got some more fun action happening with these cookies once they're decorated, but for now, I'm gonna move on to Charmander. I outlined his eyes and his mouth because Charmander, I'm giving him this big mouth, and just completely flooded that with the orange royal icing. Now, I am not using piping tips for this. This is the first time I've made cookies and not used piping tips, and I love it. The one thing I notice is every time I use piping tips and royal icing, it starts to crust on the end of it and it clogs and is such a pain. When you don't have a piping tip, you can just pinch the tip of the bag on like a napkin or something. It gets out all those crusties and you can keep piping. But with piping tips, you can change the tip, which works really well if you want to do different size stuff. But for all of these, this worked perfect. For his eyes, I just did white into the corners, and I kind of used my toothpick to help taper up the edges of it, and then just filled in the rest of his eyes using that green from Bulbasaur. Moving on to his mouth, I just filled in the outside corners of his mouth using a red, and then filled in the rest of his mouth using a pink, and just used my toothpick to try to blend all of that together into all the corners. I let the mouth dry for about a half an hour, and then I added his teeth on, again just using that toothpick to make those sharp teeth points instead of blobs. Once that's dry, I'm going to add on the little details. Again, I'm just going to do some eyebrows, his little nose, and this one I'm going to give a top lip so it kind of frames everything in. And then finally, Squirtle, I left like the easiest for last. I should have probably done the easiest one first. I just outlined its eyes using my blue roll icing, and the outside of the cookie, flooded that with a light blue, same technique as we have been doing. Flooded his eyes using white on the outside and then red on the inside, very similar to Bulbasaur. And then finished up with those freehanding terrifying details. Now, I wanted to bring these cookies up to the next level like I like to do. So I wanted to make custom sprinkles to go inside each one of these. I mean, you could just buy colored sprinkles, but what's the fun in that? And if you can't find the right colored sprinkles, here's how you can make them. I just added my white sprinkles into some Ziploc bags. I added a drop of food coloring and then just sealed the Ziploc bag while there is still air in the Ziploc bags. So that way when I shake all my sprinkles around, you're just kind of shaking them back and forth. That tosses the food coloring around all the sprinkles and completely coats it. Now, I have made an entire video dedicated to making custom sprinkles and like piping your own custom sprinkles. If you want to see that, just click the eye. I love this because if you only have white sprinkles on hand, you can make any color sprinkle you want. For Pikachu, I course did yellow, blue for Squirtle, green for Bulbasaur, and then for Charmander, I added a bit of red into my yellow sprinkles so that we would create this almost fiery effect across all of my sprinkles, making like orangey, reddy yellow. Now that I have my cookies and my sprinkles, it is time to sandwich both of those together. And we are done our Pokemon cookies. I hope you guys really love this video. I had so much fun making them. Please leave me a comment down below letting me know who your guys' favorite Pokemon is and if you want me to make it into a cookie or into a cake or into anything. I'm up for it. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to come back here again next week so we can make something else in a cake or cookies or whatever. Bye, guys.